I feel like I must have been from Shanti in like a past life or something.
Welcome to Shanxi province, known for its countless ancient fortresses and temples.
We are inside of a dragon's mouth.
Its craggy landscape filled with caves and ravines.
Somebody used to live in here.
And its endless supply of handmade noodles in all shapes and sizes. From snacks to drinks, from restaurants to banquets, and even a little bit of home cooking. We're gonna be sharing with you guys everything we ate in a week of biking through rural Shanxi. But don't get me wrong, today's vlog is not just about food. We're also gonna be taking you guys with us on all of our adventures in between. From the food to the architecture, Shanxi has been our favorite province on our entire North China bike tour, and we can't wait to share it with you, starting from the provincial capital, Taiyuan.
This is the biggest city we're gonna be in for the next 3 weeks. There's so many food options everywhere, and of course we're going to a Xinjiang restaurant because this boy is so picky.
I'm not picky.
Oh, now we'll吃螺蛳粉吧. So we're gonna have river snail noodles instead, since he's not picky. 螺蛳粉. Well, I tried.
Okay, to his credit, river snail noodles are renowned for being a stinky food.
临街一家商户突然新开了螺蛳粉店，他们的噩梦就来了。
我们家的窗户、门窗都没办法开。
Zhejiang is from a tiny town on the farthest west side of the country, cut off from the rest of Chinese cuisine by a giant desert, so he's a very picky eater. Tonight, we're having his hometown comfort food of hand-pulled Xinjiang noodles. But once we leave Taiyuan, it's time to try new things. It's not time to leave just yet, though. We're gonna spend a cozy Saturday afternoon on Juewei Mountain, and then we'll be departing tomorrow morning. Shanxi has a lot of ancient architecture that draws in visitors from around the country and even around the globe. And while we're gonna be seeing some of that, at the same time, we're also curious where the locals like to hang out. This run-of-the-mill looking mountain has attracted such a swarm on this Saturday afternoon that the foot of it has practically become a bustling street market.
Fresh roasted right here.
Vendors are selling everything from fresh local produce to camel rides with a fake desert background to the usual assortment of toys and knickknacks that are at every Chinese scenic spot, no matter how small.
Of course, no scenic spot is complete without a bunch of little doodads for the kids to play with on the way up. God forbid you just experience nature in its raw form, right? More guns. 一统人员. It sounds like I have a disease or something. Someone's not having a good time. In the US, when you go hiking, you have to bring a ton of snacks and like a little picnic on your own. But in China, there are people selling cucumbers and Oreos and all kinds of things all the way up, not even just at the bottom, all the way up. There is a restaurant down there. Usually you just see instant noodles for sale in places like this, but here they're serving some kind of noodle, a not instant noodle.
There were some pretty interesting snack options up there, but we decided to go with local produce, dried mini apples and a cucumber.
They peel it for you right on site. So in China, cucumbers are actually treated kind of like a fruit. You just eat them straight, the way nature made them.
Just our brief 3-hour foray into this mountain got us hyped about all the ancient architecture waiting for us around Shanxi.
具体多少年谁也不知道。
The combination of having a very rich history and a super dry climate that doesn't break things down quickly makes Shanxi one of the best provinces for exploring ancient architecture. And after one last evening in the bustling streets of Taiyuan, we set off in the direction of Pingyao Ancient City. Pingyao actually isn't very far away, but we like to meander through the landscape and explore as many details as possible, so it's going to take us a couple days to get there. For now, we're heading into the mountains to see the ancient village of Dento. Unbelievably enough, this place has over 2,000 years of history, but because it's located so close to a provincial capital, it's definitely going to be almost completely empty. Empty of actual residents, anyway. It does get a lot of visitors.
In an area this close to a major city, you will only find abandoned cave houses. But further out into the middle of nowhere, actually there are some of these that are still inhabited. So maybe we can show you some in the upcoming days.
Yes, you heard that right. Cave houses. They're a traditional form of dwelling where you actually dig into the side of the mountain, and then to disguise the dirt walls, you can cover it with bricks or plaster or whatever else, but it actually is a cave.
They're still putting the Chinese New Year doodads on the window every year. We got a nice up-to-date Year of the Snake. It looks like they are regularly replacing the wallpaper, the North China style wallpaper, and the Chinese New Year thingies, but it's abandoned. There are houses stacked upon houses, stairs going down into your neighbor's yard. It's very interesting to walk around in here for sure. Although the caves are all uninhabited, there are some quote-unquote regular houses that do still have people living in them. Here is the local store. There's a little restaurant here serving eggs. 看这个房顶像你老家一样，木头的呀。这个村子里还有几个人住呀？
哎呀，住的我们10来户啊，后面就是我家的窑子，3层住。我们小时候，我母亲生我，3岁的话就看到我大姐在那个妓院。
This right here is the only cave house we found that is actually being used for something. It is a little restaurant. The restaurant is not open right now, I think because it's like 2 p.m., but pretty cool to wander around anyway. There's even a private room. I guess this is his family's cave. They moved out 30 years ago. Fascinating. I love exploring old architecture like this because there used to be so much more diversity in the kind of homes people were living in a few decades ago before people had concrete. So you basically had to build with whatever nature gave you. It's cool to see what people used to live in a few decades ago. Every single place has its own very distinct, unique style of architecture. Goodbye. What a maze this place is. How fascinating would it have been to visit this while there are people living here? Can you imagine being a child growing up in a place like this? Hide and seek paradise. We milked this place dry. Now it's time to move on to our next destination. Over my past 8 years living in China, I've done countless expeditions through fascinating places with Dahan folding bikes, especially P8, which was my very first Dahan bike. You might remember my red stallion, which has traveled thousands of kilometers through about a half dozen provinces and is now enjoying retired life in Baijiang. P8 isn't just a bicycle, it's a key that opened the door for me to all sorts of otherwise difficult to access landscapes. P8 has always been one of my favorite models of Dahan bikes, and for this section of the route, we've actually switched to a new color. We thought this orange would be a really good match with the late fall scenery and this beautiful blue sky here in Shanti. Dahan P8 comes in quite a few different beautiful colors, and regardless of the color you choose, the performance of this bike is always exceptional. P8's sturdy frame helps you handle bumpy roads smoothly, and its 8-speed system and its puncture-resistant tires help you handle all sorts of terrains. And Dahan V technology helps you get the most power out of every pedal. P8 has over 20 years of history, and although it's upgraded a lot of its technology and changed its appearance here and there, one thing stays the same, which is that this has always been a very reliable and high-performing bike. It's not just a folding bike, it's a declaration of a lifestyle. Low carbon, eco-friendly, and endlessly exploratory. You can check out hidden gems in your own backyard, or because this is a folding bike, you can do what we're doing and put it on trains, on planes, on buses, and check out all sorts of interesting scenery in far-flung places. Dahan P8 is the choice of millions of riders all around the world. So what are you waiting for? Get one for yourself. After our foray through the abandoned caves, it was time to pay a visit to Jin Temple, which was first built during the Northern Wei dynasty 1500 years ago. 100!
It was renovated and expanded throughout about a half dozen subsequent dynasties, so it's a patchwork of different architectural styles from over the centuries. Incredibly, the wood structures are still intact. Meanwhile, I have to scrub spontaneous mold off my wooden cabinets every June, and Mother Nature would literally eat my furniture during the rainy season if it got the chance. I can't even wrap my head around wood lasting this long, but hey, welcome to Shanti. It is really dry here and it's setting off my eczema, but it's worth it to see all the cool architecture. We are having lamb soup with winter melon and 2 different colors of carrots. Now that the weather is getting colder, we're in a soup mood, and we really enjoyed this lamb soup, especially since it came out with a little fire going under it to keep it hot. And if anyone's curious, if you run out of soup, they give you infinite refills. Then we headed to our inn, a suburban house divided into guest rooms with 1 separate section for the owner. This is our room. Here is the bathroom. Very cute, actually. Look at this window. Some interesting photos in the staircase. No clear theme, but they definitely capture your eye with every step. Is the hotel owner watching like Jurassic Park or something down there? I hear the sound of carnage. 这是什么电影啊？美国的，你看，霍比特人。这个呀。Not only was this inn cheaper than the other hotels in the vicinity, it was also an interesting window into the life of a local. The owner was super friendly, and the next morning, he even offered us some of the local specialty product, vinegar, as a gift for the road, although we didn't dare to take it because if it spilled during our journey, the consequences would be dire. We headed to the exact same restaurant from yesterday evening and got the exact same soup because, as I said, it was good. And then we made our way into the maze of villages on the outskirts of Taiwan. Ace John's making a friend.
他说你说我们的话挺好的，然后我说我是新疆的，然后他就做了。
Ga. Fresh offering for the roadside shrine. Jarred tangerines. There are shrines all over the place here, some more ornate than people's own homes, some kind of old and dusty but still receiving the occasional offering, and some so tiny you could almost miss them altogether. We also encountered a couple of churches, which were an interesting fusion of Eastern and Western styles. And right down the street from that was what looked to be an abandoned factory on the top floor, but on the bottom floor, there was some sort of community event going on. The uncle standing outside said it was open to the public, so of course we had to go see. No matter how good you might think your Mandarin is, you'll never understand a single word in these Chinese opera performances if you're not familiar with the art, and we're not. Even though we had no idea what was going on, we really enjoyed how expressive all the musical instruments were. Yeah.
因为商务去了，夏季啊。
对呀。
哪来的人？
美国。
没这个。
对。美国没有这个，过来欣赏一下。So the art of Chinese opera is still alive and well here in Shanxi, although the audience is all grandmas and grandpas. But this is at a time where the youngins are at work. So I don't know, maybe if they had like a Sunday matinee, there would be some 20-year-olds in the audience. Probably not, but you know, if anybody's curious, this is still a thing that happens in neighborhoods. It's just not very popular in my generation.
我小的时候，我们家也种这个，我们用来喝水，然后可以带水。
这个最可爱。
那你看这个，还有这个，可能有的。
哇哦！
有空的。
Today, Issa and I are trying something a little bit different for dinner. It is boiling right in front of us on the table here. This is one you really have to be patient with. It takes a while to boil and get the meat nice and soft, to get all the flavors all infused in there. And also there are some little bread-like things around the exterior, and they're being steamed as the food is cooking. So they're slowly expanding. This bread is the star of the show, y'all. This bread is top tier. Crispy on one side, soft on the other side. You dip it in that juice. Excellent. So if anyone's curious what vegetables are in here, we got potatoes, chewy corn, beans, and there's also this pumpkin-looking thing in here. And you can eat the skin on these, which is interesting. He likes it. Thank goodness, because this is not cheap. This is only a once in a while kind of thing.
See, this is why I love Shanti, because there is stuff like this everywhere. You don't even have to go out of your way to look for it. It just is there. And even though it is getting quite cold at night nowadays, nightlife is still poppin'. Well, it's a Monday, but it's about as poppin' as it can be for a Monday, okay? There's some stuff going on over there. I was so confused by these palm trees. Like, how are they surviving in this climate? But they're actually fake. They're just pretty realistic. At least at night.
As long as you work hard, you can overcome anything. 只要你努力工作，你会得到所有的一切。
他的意思是，只要你努力工作，你能克服一切困难。
Overcome.
He gets 50% credit on that one. Overcome.
The next morning, we embarked on our final stretch of random villages before reaching Pingyao.
Found the village gossip station.
你们在什么晚上去什么地方？在平西住了，
我们去平遥。
在平遥住了，来了多长时间来这个地方？
来这个地方吗？一天。
啊？
刚来。
刚来。
对。
来干啥来？
玩呀。
你在美国的？
对。
那个地方比这个地方好吧？
各有各的好。
站里面站一站，站里面看一看。
对，我们去看一下。Bro is eating that tofu like a pack of potato chips. I have never seen such a thing in my life.
看看这里面看看大虾，大虾店。
哦，
看看吧，
漂亮。
看看，你那个老家好不好？你老家？新疆的。
Look at that wood. This is the performance stage. Nowadays, everyone has so much content to consume on their TVs, on their computers, on their phones. But back in the day, this is all you had. So bye-bye.
Yesterday, we were seeing shrines around every corner. Here, we are seeing full-blown temples.
These temples are everywhere.
基本上每个村都有。
It's the kind of ornate old architecture that in other parts of the country would probably be turned into a tourist spot. Here, it's forgotten in this random village. Now there's nothing going on but some grandmas playing mahjong in the back room.
The rare sight of a lion door guardian that actually looks like a lion. Not gonna lie, I kind of like the other little guys better though. They have more personality. Look at that little potato. One lonely leaf hanging on. Asa John, the social butterfly, making a friend.
你们去过美国吗？
没有. Look at this beautiful fusion of cultures. It is Mary and baby Jesus on top of one of these classic Chinese rock pile things. Love that. Over here, another beautiful fusion of cultures. I think it's Joseph and Jesus underneath one of these things. Neighborhood gossip zone.
And now we are at Pingyao Ancient City.
I actually visited this place with my friends Haley and Sophia about a year ago. You may remember it. Inside of that vlog are also two legendary characters.
Not sure if we'll encounter those two guys again, but perhaps some other weird, interesting thing is waiting for us.
We're actually going to be staying in the ancient city tonight. This is where we're staying.
And this is our room, if anyone's curious.
Time for dinner.
Hello. So one of my favorite things about Shanxi, other than the cool architecture everywhere, is the variety of grains and noodles. So what we have right here is called a cat ear. No cats were harmed in the making of this noodle product. This is one of like a dozen different shapes of noodles and noodle adjacent things that you can get on the menu. What makes handmade noodles so delicious is the fact that every single one is a little bit different, so the texture never gets boring. Every bite is different. We're loving the food in Shanxi, guys. Look at these vegetable balls. Like in the previous provinces, we honestly did not encounter that much food that we felt really excited about. But here in Shanxi, I'm excited by everything. I'm excited by all the carbohydrates in their various shapes and sizes. Look, our third one just came out. It is this couscous looking thing. How can you possibly not want that, right? I feel like I must have been from Shanxi in like a past life or something. And now it's time to check out some ancient city nightlife. Actually, Pingyao isn't just a city, it's a fortress with almost 3,000 years of history, although its current configuration was built during the Ming Dynasty. For centuries, Pingyao was a thriving commercial hub, and although China's commercial hubs have now shifted to skyscrapers in urban areas, Pingyao is still thriving, just in a different way. It attracts droves of history enthusiasts, cosplayers, live streamers, and ancient architecture appreciators from all around the world. The layout of the city is actually in the shape of a turtle, which represents longevity, and this place has indeed outlasted most other human structures in this world.
东西两面是四指，各有两个门，大南门是头，乌龟的头；北门是乌龟的尾巴。
The Turtle City is composed of a few main commercial streets full of knick-knack shops and restaurants, and then a gigantic maze of back alleys, which we will get to in a moment. First, I just had to show you guys this ham shop.
看猪猪啊，这个长大了也会做火腿吗？
不会，宠物猪
这个跟吃的猪不是同一个品种吗？
不一样的。普通吃的猪它能长到200斤到300斤，它这个长不了那么大。
To keep the poor little guy surrounded by the seasoned, flattened corpses of dozens of his brethren. That's humans for you. Check out this gigantic wall. Fortress city lifestyle right here. And other bigger cities like Xi'an and Nanjing had walls as well, but because modern development actually needs there to be roads and things going through here, the walls have been broken up into little bits and pieces. But here in Pingyao, because land is not really in demand in the middle of nowhere, no one's trying to build like a super highway or something through here, so you can get the full, complete fortress experience walking all the way around the base of this thing.
Interestingly, the fortress is actually inhabited and as of 2025 has about 10,000 residents. This might sound like a lot, but actually just a few decades ago it had a population of about 45,000. The living conditions here are not up to the standards of the younger generation, and most of the people remaining are elderly. In a few more decades, this place may just be a tourist site without any local residents, but for now, it's very interesting to walk around and see all of the courtyards and alleyways.
The houses are so densely packed in here that there's barely any space to do anything in your yard aside from like a couple potted plants. This is actually the first vegetable garden we've seen all morning.
So the main reason why I love this place so much is because it's actually very rare and difficult to have this much preserved architecture all in one space. For a lot of these old buildings, the cost to renovate it to modern living standards is actually more expensive than what it would cost to just tear it down and start over, which is why in most of the country people do just that. They tear it down and they start over. But because this is a preserved place that actually attracts a lot of visitors, there are enough financial resources to not allow these buildings to be taken down. Either renovate them in accordance with their original style, which a lot of hotels have done, so you can actually have a pretty comfortable room, or turn them into a store, turn them into a restaurant. Some of them are still inhabited in their original state.
This is like the 4th consecutive vinegar factory we've run into, so I now see why that guy offered us vinegar the other day. I even saw vinegar flavored ice cream on the main commercial street yesterday. Vinegar soda. The love for vinegar is real around here. Oh my goodness, I think we just stumbled into a Chinese LARP session.
研学北京来的，土匪要抢他们的标，就抢他们家的这个货物，不让他们过去，要让他们交点钱才能走。
哦，这是Pingyao之前经常发生的是吗？
对，经常发生的事情。
Yeah, sounds like Pingyao was a rough place back in the day, but nowadays life here is much quieter and more laid back. Not a bandit in sight, just locals, visitors, and cats enjoying a pleasant afternoon, and every once in a while, the sound of a frantically dancing live streamer. The next morning, we emerged from the Turtle's Mouth onto the bustling streets outside. And I got my fortune told, cause why not?
So personally, I feel like this kind of stuff is similar to a horoscope where it provides you with a humongous pile of information and then you have to like pick out the things that are relevant to you and then you're like, oh yes, it's all right, it knows me, but then in reality you're like ignoring the things that are not accurate. But I just think it's fun to see what kind of stuff is on here. It says I'm gonna live up to 87. I mean, that's all right, I guess. I wanted to be like my grandma and make it to 95, but 87 is a respectable age to get to, you know?
Interestingly, it says I'm gonna get rich during the year of the chicken, so we have that to look forward to. And now it is time to say goodbye to Pingyao and start heading in the direction of the mountains.
Just a few minutes outside the walls of the ancient fortress, we are back to regular old modern life. Just an hour away from Pingyao, we have encountered yet another fortress. A very tiny fortress. This地方有多少年了？感觉很古老。See, this is why I love Shanti province. It takes like zero effort to find cool ancient architecture. Well, does 200 years count as ancient? It does if you're from the US. Old architecture just jumps out at you around every single corner with zero effort. The original fortress walls are made out of dirt and they are renovating them with bricks so they'll last longer. What a maze this thing is. How do you get out of here? Well, it's definitely a very effective fort because we are trapped in here. We've been going around and around and around trying to find a way out of this thing. So if we can't get out of it, enemies definitely could not get into it. More abandoned cave houses. Can you believe someone once lived in here in this teeny tiny space? Average Brooklyn apartment. All these years have gone by and these things are still intact. Here is the little family shrine. Here is the traditional kitchen setup. This is the kang where you have a fire going underneath. You lay on top and it's nice and warm. Back in the day, people really just worked with what nature gave them. The Loess Plateau is a rare example of a place where people can make their own caves. Most places where you see tunnels and stuff like that, you need very powerful drills to get into the rock. And here, humans could actually dig their own hole into the side of these cliffs. So it's firm enough that it holds its shape, but it's loose enough that you can actually dig into it with literally your bare hand. In the back section, you can actually see this is what they were digging into. This clay-like material. Well, I'm paying the price for coming in there. You have to pick all these things off later. Love the big dramatic castle door aesthetic. The ratio of abandoned stuff to not abandoned stuff has been a lot higher in this area than any of the other villages we've been traveling through for the past few months. Because so many people have left the rural areas here, there is more old architecture left behind for you to see in the first place. So it makes the villages here a very interesting place to explore. It really feels like a time capsule. So it's pretty common to see political slogans on the walls in rural China, but this place takes it to the next level. These villages we've been going through in Shanti have a political slogan on like every single wall. And I know what you're thinking. You're gonna be like, those are super old. Those are from like the Mao era and no one's replaced them. Well, they do actually replace them. There are fresh ones as well. So it's definitely just part of the culture around here.你我多一份自觉，村庄多一份美丽。你自觉吗？你自觉吗？
Not everything painted on the wall is a political slogan, though. There are also a lot of advertisements. Another rural China classic.
Mother Nature is cruel, but humans are kind. Get yourself some agricultural insurance. 我在里侯很想你。
We also paid a visit to a local Taoist temple.
I love the cave house style of the temple. It reminds me of how when we went to Mongolia, the temples all had these yurt-shaped buildings. And here in Shanxi, they integrate that cave house design into like everything.
师傅叫你们聊聊天，喝个茶。
哦，这个小屋太可爱了。对，你可以坐两个。 They also offered us some of the local specialty, red date vinegar.
它不能调饭吃，它就是养生醋，你可以尝一下。
It didn't taste much like dates or like any vinegar I've ever tried before. It actually was a lot like molasses. So that also explains the vinegar ice cream and soda, although I'm still not sure I would have liked them. We've been having a fascinating chat about Taoism here at this temple. I literally just came in here to look at the architecture and they're so friendly. They invite us to have tea, they invite us to have dinner, which is vegetarian. And apparently it's not required that Taoist people eat vegetarian food, but she told us that in the temple, it's a sign of respect to the deities. And in addition to the meal being vegetarian, it also does not feature any strong smelling thing like garlic or leeks, because apparently when you eat those, it gives you stinky breath, basically. There's no other more delicate way to put it. It gives you stinky breath and it may be offensive to the deities. Very interesting. Well, that was a fascinating experience indeed. Bye-bye. Bro, they love those cave houses around here. Even the grocery store is designed like a cave house. Nice selection in here. The next morning, we continued our journey in the direction of the mountains, although we didn't make it very far because the road was blocked by a birthday party.
Top tier birthday party venue. The middle of the road.
These tiny country roads don't get much traffic, and they're the perfect place to set up a tent for a big banquet.
在我们家吃饭吧，在我们家吃口饭吧。
谁的过生日呀？
我孙子，
哦，
一个女孩，13岁了。
哇，你们这过生日好隆重呀！
哦，
是每年生日都这样，还是因为13岁
？13岁，过吧13岁就是出嫁。等她出嫁的时候又是这样子。
Off the chain hospitality around here. We're trying to pass through this road that they blocked for the birthday party, and they're like, "Come sit, join us for lunch."
In addition to the spread of dishes in the center, they also offered everyone a bowl of scissor-cut noodles. And they gave us a jar of tangerines, which tasted just like the canned tangerines of my childhood. These candied sesame peanuts were my favorite thing at the table, also another childhood flavor.
They even invited us in for some tea.
Some of you might be thinking, they're just inviting you to be polite. Say no thanks and move along. But life is too short for rejecting friendly strangers. If you invite us, we're there. Whatever it is. We love to make a friend during our long journey.
生日快乐！
他也是喜欢那个鸡。
期了，你可以。
对，你要好好学习，儿媳妇，你也得好好学习，帅啊！
拜拜，
过来吃饭。
拜拜，
拜拜，小朋友。
A little while later, our winding route through the rural back roads took us to a market. Time to buy some snacks.
Fresh made on site, right there with that machine.
These are made by basically exploding air into cornmeal. I don't really understand exactly how it works, but they are one of our favorite rural China snacks. They're crispy and airy and kind of like a Cheeto if it had no oil and no cheese. They come in dozens of different shapes, and the only thing stopping us from buying more is the fact that we cannot even fit them on the bike. They just take up too much room. While we're here, we're also picking up more dried mini apples.
I found the mini apples to be mediocre when they're fresh, but when they're dried, they're literally so good. I can't even describe. We're so obsessed with them. We're buying them for the 3rd time in the past like 5 days. We cannot get enough of these mini apples.
这该别吃了，真是。
Who in the world is trying to drive through this market? You crazy!
I like this one.
We humans love our chemicals, but nothing can compare to a fresh, steaming cow pat. This is what real soil is made out of. This is putting all the nutrients from the plants that cow ate right back into the soil in the most perfect condition for the plants growing next to absorb it, and the cycle continues. Mother Nature's fertilizer.
That night, we stayed in a little rural inn at the foot of Mian Mountain. For dinner, we tried some home-style food, potato strips and these chunky barley noodles cooked with eggs and tomatoes. And some red date and rose petal tea on the side. I've been bringing this with me throughout this section of the journey because it gets really cold at night and it's nice to drink something hot. We also had breakfast at this lovely little inn. Breakfast time! We still have more of these little oranges that they gave us yesterday at the birthday party. And we have this egg, tomato, and seaweed soup. And some buns. Now it's time to head up Mian Mountain, which is known for its elaborate Taoist architecture, and it was actually recommended to us by the people at the temple we visited yesterday.
This might look like your average cave, but we're actually inside the mouth of a dragon. It's a dragon holding a pearl in its mouth. This is the pearl. We are inside of a dragon's mouth. Of course, it's covered in graffiti because, like, welcome to Earth, right? No! Why do humans ruin everything we touch?
Mianshan is an interesting combination of crazy rock formations, ornate temples, and old military bunkers. As spectacular as it is, we actually found it less interesting than Juewei Mountain, which is practically a hill by comparison, but on a sunny weekend day like today, it attracted droves of locals. Fortunately, we're also going to get a chance to see the favorite local hangout spot here at Mian Mountain, and it's actually not on the mountain, it's at the foot of it.
A bunch of people in that village were telling us to go to some place called Yango, and it's not on the map, so I was just kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it just from like listening to some directions, but we happened to stumble into these 3 boys that are walking there right now, so they are taking us How wholesome is that? We're gonna see the local community hangout spot. 这个村里有高中吗？还是你们是周末来这边？
周末来，这个是最偏远的时候。
Along this ridge here are the only cave houses we've seen our whole journey that are actually inhabited.
老人们住。
你们小时候也住过窑洞吗？
我爷爷家住，
爷爷奶奶家住，但现在都搬了新房子。
这个抽烟。
我们在山西看到了好多高中生抽烟，你们抽烟吗？
不抽烟，其实抽烟也没啥意思，还得花钱。我们在高中的时候，我们班都是好多男生抽烟。开闸放水了，前几天下雨多。
This creek only flows a few days after a heavy rainstorm, and whenever it has water, everyone swarms here to play in it, even in the winter.
What's your name?
My name is Katherine. What's your name?
I'm Wang Zheyi.
Wang Zhenyi.
对
Nice to meet you.
I'm China.
Taina. Nice to meet you too.
Of all the villages we've seen in the past few days, I think this one was probably my favorite. The locals were super friendly, the scenery was amazing, it had a beautiful ancient temple, and there was an interesting wall mural around pretty much every corner.
Beware of romance on the internet, because this is what happens next. Your child gets sucked into the portal, your child falls in love with a serial killer, and then whatever this is happens.
And as sunset approached, we headed into a little town to find something for dinner.
Ooh, they're selling that snack that we like. It doesn't even fit in our bike bag, but we're close enough to our destination. It doesn't really matter anyway. 他们在玩小猪啊。别人遛狗，你遛猪呀？可以。好像是呗。
好了，盖上，一会儿给你做油面。
Tonight, we are trying steamed noodles for the first time. They're actually cooking above the beef and vegetable stew, with 2 bonus corn biscuits on the side, because we told the owner we like them.
尝鲜吃那个，对，那个凉了就不好吃了啊！你尝鲜的吃不好吃。
Sticky rice inside a date. Let me tell you guys, Shanti is paradise on earth for those of us who enjoy our noodles in funky shapes. Barley noodle tube. We've got the barley noodle caterpillar. I'm sure it has a proper name, but come on, you know it looks like a caterpillar.
Handmade noodles are way less common in Zhejiang, which is the province we live in, but they're a staple of John's hometown cuisine, and he's gotten me obsessed with them too. Even though the noodles of Shanti are completely different from Xinjiang, they still have the soul of a handmade noodle, and we love them all the same. But anyway, we are excited to continue our Shanti journey in the upcoming vlog, and I hope you'll be joining us to try more delicious local food, explore more ancient villages, and even get the chance to spend the night in a cave house. Also, if you've been following our entire North China bike tour, you may be wondering how we suddenly got from Zhangjiakou to Taian. We actually skipped over North Shanxi by train because we were told the roads there are not ideal for biking. And if you want that kind of flexibility in your travels as well, get yourself a Dahong folding bike just like us. See you guys in the next video.